Hello BSS, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here then just welcome. Hi, my name is Brenda. I do mostly paranormal videos here on my channel, so if that is something that you are interested in, please consider subscribing down below and turn on your post notifications so you do not miss when I post another video like this one. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. Alright, sorry you guys, I quickly wanted to interrupt today's video to give a huge shout out to Rose Forever New York for partnering with me once again for today's video. And I also wanted to show you guys the beautiful roses that they sent over to me. This time around they sent me these beautiful pink roses in this black velvet box. They look like this. And they did send me pink roses because it is October, which is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I wanted to share with you guys a few details about Rose Forever New York in case you guys wanted to check them out yourself. Rose Forever New York is joining the Breast Cancer Awareness Month this year, a global campaign dedicated to raising awareness about breast cancer and supporting women to reduce breast cancer risk. They will be decreasing the prices for all their pink roses and will be offering discounts and free shipping throughout the entire month of October. In addition, for every pink bouquet sold, they will be donating $2 to breast cancer research. So if you guys are interested in checking out Rose Forever New York, I will be leaving their information down below, and you can also use my code BeyondBelleza25 to get $25 off your order site-wide. So thank you once again to Rose Forever New York for partnering with me for this video. I really appreciate you guys. Alright you guys, so as you can already tell by the title of today's video, today we are going to be talking about an urban legend that many of us already know about. We've heard it, we might have done it before. If you have been brave enough to stand in front of a mirror with a candle lit and you said her name 3 times, kudos to you, because I have never been able to do it. She is said to appear to you in the mirror holding a dead baby or with her arms outstretched, threatening to take yours. So that is the basic urban legend of Bloody Mary. Now, if you've ever been to a sleepover, if you've ever been messing around with your friends, you know they always end up daring you to do Bloody Mary in the bathroom by yourself and to see what could possibly happen. Now, I have never been able to actually do this. I had tried it one time with one of my friends that I hadn't seen in a long time, and we were like hanging out at her house. We were kind of bored, and we both went into the bathroom together. We were like, oh, we should. No, she was the one that brought it up. She was like, we should play Bloody Mary. And she's like, have you ever played it? And I was like, no. And I was like, and I don't think I'm planning on playing it. But that's basically the only time that I've ever almost done it. I went into the bathroom, we lit the candles, I went in first and I said it like once, and then I was like looking at myself and I got really scared, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I like walked out of the bathroom, we were like laughing together, and then she ended up doing it and actually going through with it, and she came out like yelling and laughing, and she's like, nothing happened, but I got really scared because the candle blew out with my breath because she was holding it next to her mouth, and then she ended up accidentally blowing it out. So if you guys have ever played that, let me know in the comments down below, because I have never been brave enough to do it. But today we're going to be talking about the potential story behind Bloody Mary and, you know, the inspiration behind Bloody Mary. So Bloody Mary is said to be inspired by the Tudor Queen Mary of England. And this story has a lot of different aspects as to why it inspired Bloody Mary and why Queen Mary herself became a known legend, I guess you could say, and how she became this myth and this figure behind this urban legend. Queen Mary was born February 18, 1516, so this was long ago, and she was a child to King Henry VIII and his first wife, Catherine. And ultimately, Mary was an unwanted child to Henry and to Catherine because Henry was very adamant about having a boy as his first child. He really wanted to have a boy to take over the throne once he passed away. So after Mary was born, not too long after, he quickly made it his ultimate mission to have somebody birth him a male. He was very adamant about it. He went to the extremes to be able to have a boy, which led to his historic number of wives. He had 6 wives total throughout his life, and he even had a bunch of mistresses who he was trying to conceive a baby with. So he did not care how he got this baby boy. Even if it was going to be an illegitimate baby, he did not care as long as it was a boy. And I guess he didn't know that the male was the one that determined the sex of the baby. So if all you got is a bunch of little sperms that are female, that's what you're going to get. And it didn't have anything to do with the wives themselves. It was like he was doing a test run and seeing that to see which one of these women had the baby boy inside of them, I guess. But anyway, he spent a lot of Mary's childhood doing this. So Mary grew up with him having a bunch of different wives up until she was 14 years old. That's when he finally separated from Mary's mother, Catherine, and he divorced her and then went and lived with one of his other wives that he had. And I guess he was really, really infatuated with this wife that he decided to leave the whole Catholic Church altogether and go move with this new wife and then start his new family, basically. And because of the divorce from his wife, Catherine, even though Mary was conceived during the time that they were married, she was deemed illegitimate because they got divorced. So that meant that Mary got stripped of her title as a princess to just a lady. So her whole entire lifestyle was changed after this, and she was no longer like this super spoiled princess, and she was back to just being like, I guess, a regular person in the kingdom. I'm not really sure how that works. I don't know exactly if she had to leave the palace that they lived or whatnot, but she also got separated from her mother, so she wasn't even allowed to see her. And that reason I am also unsure of why they didn't let her see her mom. I mean, even though her parents were divorced, I don't know why she couldn't see her mom anymore. Even when she ended up being super sick, she wasn't allowed to go visit her and check up on her. So that whole thing must have been a super huge ordeal for her as well. And then, as if all of this wasn't enough, as soon as she hit puberty, so this was around the time that all of this was going on, she was about 14, she was a teenager, she hit puberty and she started her menstrual cycle, and she had a lot of very big issues when this came along, really bad cramping, which led her to be really depressed because she couldn't do a lot of things. Obviously, there was not a lot of help for her, and she couldn't even see doctors to see what was happening or anything like that. And because of her menstrual problems, that was the first reason why people started calling her Bloody Mary behind her back, because I guess she was always spotting herself and ruining her dresses because of her menstrual cycles. They were like heavy, and there was a lot of issues happening with that. So they gave her the nickname behind her back of Bloody Mary for that reason at first. And as I said, since King Henry was so busy trying to find out how he could get a male child to be conceived by somebody, he finally got his wish with one of his other wives, who gave him a son by the name of Edward. And he was going to be, for sure, the heir of his throne, and Henry was going to make sure of that. So shortly after, Henry passed away, and then Edward, of course, took the throne, but his reign did not last very long. He was only the King of England for about 6 years after King Henry had passed away, and at that time, when Henry was on his deathbed, he actually told Edward that he had to make sure that the throne did not go to one of his sisters. He had to find a male family member somehow and make sure that the male family member was the one that got the throne. He was just like, there is no damn way that any of these girls are gonna get the crown, like, make sure of it. So Edward, when he was getting sick and he knew that he was going to pass away, he was trying his best to make sure that the crown went to one of his cousins or something like that. And when Mary found out about this, she was pissed because she felt like the crown belonged to her and it was her right because she was Henry's first child and she was the eldest out of all of the other kids that he had with all of his other wives. So she felt entitled to this crown and she was going to do whatever it takes to make sure that she could be the Queen of England after Edward passed away. So ultimately, they did try to pass it on to this cousin of Edward's, who I don't remember the name. I didn't look into that specific. So then after this, Mary basically brought a whole army to London and she kind of protested this whole thing and got her way somehow. And she ended up becoming the Queen of England. And I think she even sent this cousin who was supposed to be the next heir, she even sent him to the executioner's block. So she was like, not only do I take the crown from you, but you're done too. So that's super crazy. And so she was the very first queen who became the queen from her own right and not because she had a baby who was supposed to be the heir, but he was too young to be the king, or because she married a king, like none of that. And so she finally got the reins to the throne, and she ended up wanting to make it her mission to bring everybody back together to become Catholic once again. So she didn't want the separation between Catholics and Protestants to exist anymore. She wanted them all to be together as the one ultimate religion of Catholicism. And she went to extreme extents to make sure that this would happen. She even burned about 300 and something people at the stake. Anyone who was protesting her ideas of making everybody or converting everybody back to Catholicism. And so anybody who was going against her word was being burned at the stake. So throughout her whole time as queen, she burned about 300 people, as I said. And supposedly there was even a pregnant lady who was burned at the stake. And while she was burning, she gave birth to the baby. And the executioners threw the baby back into the fire. And that was like the craziest thing. Of course, Queen Mary wasn't the one doing any of this, like herself. She was just sitting in her palace, not seeing any of this happen. And even though she wasn't the actual person burning people at the stake, she was the one that decided to go ahead and go with that. And the reason that they were doing this is to scare people into just converting back into being Catholic and not questioning her authority, basically. And this is where that nickname came back into play of Bloody Mary after all of these people were executed by being burned at the stake. It was so insane. So that is basically what she was doing while she was the Queen of England. So now around the time that Queen Mary was, oh my god, I hope I was saying Queen Mary this whole time, because if I said Queen Elizabeth at any point, I'm gonna kill myself, because I for some reason kept thinking about Queen Elizabeth throughout this, and I kept accidentally almost saying that, and I hope I didn't, because I have not been catching myself. Okay, but so at this time, Queen Mary, when she was about 37, she had also made it her mission as the queen to find an heir to her crown, so an heir directly from her. So she made that her mission, and she was going to make sure that she quickly conceived a baby. So she met this guy named Philip from Spain. After 2 days of meeting him, she quickly married him, and then 2 months after they got married, she announced that she felt pregnant and that she was going to have the baby who was going to be the heir to the throne. And after everybody found this out, everybody was super involved in this pregnancy. They wanted to know everything about it, and they were always looking to see if they can see Queen Mary come out, to see her belly and all of the stuff, you know. And then quickly as the time went by, there was a lot of different rumors about how people thought that Queen Mary wasn't actually pregnant, that she was faking this whole thing, and that she couldn't conceive, and also that she was pretending to be pregnant, but she actually had a surrogate who she was waiting for the surrogate to have the baby, and then she was just going to claim it as her own. And there was a bunch of rumors. So Queen Mary finally, when she heard about these rumors, she wanted to put it to a stop, and she decided to go out in public and show everybody that she had this big belly, and that, you know, she actually was pregnant. Because to her, you know, everything was happening. She had all of the very stereotypical symptoms of pregnancy. You know, she had tender breasts, her belly was growing, her menstrual cycle stopped, she was having nausea, all of the things. So in her head, she was like, how could I not be pregnant? You know, my belly's growing, like, this is enough proof. So after she made her public appearance, showing everybody that she was pregnant and she had a belly, people started then saying that she stuffed her dress with like pillows, and that she was not actually pregnant. And I don't know why people decided to stir up these rumors. Like, maybe because they didn't see her enough, maybe because they thought that she was too old to actually have had a baby or have fallen pregnant. Because, you know, back then, and even now, they used to talk about like a biological clock. Even back then, you know, you had to make sure that you were young to be able to have a baby and to be able to survive having a baby. Because, I mean, back then it was different. The survival rate was a lot lower, but that was because of like the medical field in general. But people were stirring out all these rumors, and Mary was not having it. So she was basically just waiting for the moment that her baby came so that she could show everybody that she actually had this baby. So the months passed by, and she was supposed to have her baby like around May 9th was the day that they gave her. So before that month came, she kind of secluded herself in this little room, her little birthing room, I guess, and she was secluded by herself there, and she had everything that she could need, like her clothes and blankets and pillows and the baby's clothes for when it arrived. And she spent the entire month there in May waiting for the baby to come, and the whole month of May came and went, and then June came along, and the baby was still not here. And everybody outside in England was wondering what was going on. They were expecting Queen Mary to come out with this new baby, and she still hadn't. And they were wondering, you know, did the baby die? Did Mary die? Like, what was going on? Did they get the due date wrong? And nobody knew. It was just all speculation. Everybody was kind of running wild with this whole thing. And they started saying that she probably died in childbirth, or that she gave birth to a lump of flesh, and just so many different rumors. And finally, as July was approaching, they finally let a doctor come and take a look at her, because back then they didn't let doctors look at any of the private areas or check any of the monarchs, because it was seen as very improper. So they basically had to just wait out anything that was wrong with them, especially with pregnancy, because a lot of the doctors were only males other than midwives and stuff like that. So they finally came and let a doctor take a look at her, and they had noticed that her stomach was actually shrinking back down. And in order to make sure that they didn't upset Mary, they told her that it was normal for the stomach to shrink down during labor, because that meant that the baby was getting prepared to come out, basically. And that's what they ended up telling her. And so as August rolls around, there's still no baby, and now we're approaching like a year into her pregnancy, and still no baby. And her stomach only shrank more and more as time went by, and it shrank so small that she was actually able to lay on the floor and then bring her knees up all the way to her chin. So that's how small it was. If you're pregnant, I don't think you can even bend forward that far to tie your shoe. And so after all this time came and went and there was no baby in sight, Mary finally came out of her little bunker that she had, her little birth bunker, because nobody had seen her in all of these months. People outside were questioning it still. They were worried about her. They did not know what was going on. And they basically just thought that she had died during childbirth, and the baby had died too, and nobody was saying anything. But finally, Queen Mary came out kind of defeated and kind of confused, and she just basically pretended like none of this happened. She went along and didn't mention anything about this pregnancy anymore. She didn't tell her husband anything, and they kind of just pretended that nothing happened, and they went along with as time went by, and she continued to be the queen, and everybody kind of just stopped talking about it after that. And so 2 years passed after this, and once again, Mary announced that she was pregnant again. And now at this point, nobody believed her. Everybody was kind of just confused as to what was happening with her and why she was announcing that she was pregnant again, when at this point they kind of knew that she couldn't get pregnant and that it wasn't going to happen, because I guess by now she was almost 40. So if at 40 they were like, oh yeah, there's no way, ma'am, you are not getting pregnant at your old age. Supposedly to them, they were like, it's not gonna happen. If you try to get a baby now, you could die, or the baby could die. And they were not believing her. They were not taking any of her pregnancy symptoms seriously, because at this point, again, her menstrual cycle stopped once again, and she was experiencing all of the signs of pregnancy. But as the story goes, they say that she was just experiencing early menopause, and that is why she stopped having her menstrual cycle. Now, as I had mentioned before, she had a lot of issues with her ovaries in general, so it didn't come as a surprise that people say that her cause of death was either a uterine or an ovarian cancer. So they're not sure which one it was, but they do believe that she died from either one of these cancers. It had something to do with that area. So that same following year, after she had said that she thought that she was pregnant, and there was actually no pregnancy, she actually did pass away. And so she was around the age of 42, they believe, was when she passed away. So she died with no heir of her own to the throne, and I think the crown ended up going to her sister Elizabeth. I just know that it went to Elizabeth after that. It was her other sister that she had. And so now, right after her death is when her myth kind of started, and everybody learned about the actual facts of it. And it is said that Mary's case was one of the first earliest cases of pseudocyesis, which is false pregnancy, like mental illness. It's basically when you're so adamant about having a baby, like that is all you think about, that your mind tricks your body into actually going through the entire process of a pregnancy. Like you get all of the symptoms, and your belly actually even ends up growing. Like your mind is so powerful that it can actually do this. And back then it was probably like something more common because the medical field wasn't as advanced as it is now, and it's so insane. So basically Mary's body tricked her into thinking she was pregnant because that's how much she wanted it, and she was fully convinced that she was, and she was ready for this baby to come out. She even felt it kicking inside of her stomach and all of it. It's insane to me that your mind is able to do this. So that is basically what happened with Mary. It was all in her head, and she wasn't never actually pregnant, sadly. So she spent this entire time just hoping and praying that she could conceive a baby and bring it so it could be the heir. And yeah, so that is how the urban legend came to be. So because of her strong desire to have a baby, that is why they came up with this whole urban legend about her appearing in the mirror holding a dead baby or threatening to take your children from you, because that's how much she wanted to have one. And I honestly had never heard of this entire thing before researching it for this video. I had never heard of the story behind it that inspired Bloody Mary. I honestly thought she was just some random lady, and I had never even heard of her holding a baby in the mirror either. I just literally thought that she would appear and that she was like this scary looking person, and she would like take you or something, like she would suck you into the mirror with her and then you would disappear or something like that. I'd never heard of this actual tie to it or all of the things that Queen Mary went through either. And apparently there's a lot of really other fascinating stories behind a lot of different kings and queens of England. And I just know that there was all kinds of drama, all kinds of deaths and executions that had to do with the kings and the queens of England, and that's just a whole nother story. A lot of different things that could probably be talked about with the royal family, right? But yeah, guys, that is basically the gist of the story behind Bloody Mary. There is another version of it that I saw. I don't remember where it was from, but I know that there's another version which is sort of similar, and it's about another royal family, I guess. I didn't look too much into it, but let me know down below if you guys knew about this story already, or if you guys had another version of who Bloody Mary was. I would really like to hear your thoughts on this, and if any of you guys have done it, basically. if any of you guys have gone into the mirror and been brave enough to go through with this little game, I guess you could call it. But that is going to be it from me, you guys. I'm really excited to see what you guys thought about this video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too much, because I tend to do that, especially when it's a story with a lot of details. I'm just like, I reiterate the same details over and over again, so I apologize if I did that too much. And before I do end today's video, today's comment shout out goes to this person right here. Thank you so much for leaving a nice comment. As always, I really do appreciate it, and it really makes my day. And if you want to be the next comment shout out, all you have to do is leave me a nice comment down below, and that's it. And just a reminder that I do have memberships open here on my channel. All you have to do is click the join button down below. That's right next to the subscribe button, and you pay $4.99 a month for exclusive content as well as other perks. So if you are interested in that, just click the join button down below, and that way you would be supporting my channel directly. Thank you so much for watching again. Hopefully I will see you in my next one. Don't forget to stay safe and be kind. Bye bye.